Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, Jesus famously washed feet as a way to give back. Well, Rotary Club of Park Cities is doing the very same thing in a very special mission and ministry. That's coming up next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I was a proud Rotarian for about 10 years, took some time off, and Rotary Club of Park Cities invited me to speak last week. And I always get good stories when I speak at Rotary Clubs, and the best story that I found that day is the person who's in studio with me right now, Hollenbeck. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be here.
Well, we had the little Q&A, and you asked a question at the end of the speech about washing feet and how to get more attention. And I said, well, I've got one way. You can come on my TV show. So, Holly, why don't you take us back to the beginning? How did this start?
Oh, yeah. So back in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm from, we had a inspirational woman who would go to the street corner and feed the homeless. And she started off with just bringing a few meals down there, and then it turned into every Wednesday morning, 200 meals served, hot meals, and I would go down and volunteer with her. And in the coldest of weather, we would do it, in the rain, the snow, you name it. And it definitely inspired this project.
Yes. And so you brought that to Dallas, and you've done it twice here in Dallas, is that right?
Twice in Dallas, and it's expanding. We hope to expand it across the district. One of the fascinating things about how this came about, though, I have to tell you, Jeff, was the homeless people that would come to the line to get the free meal, even in the coldest weather, I would notice some that just had flip-flops on and black toes. I mean, literally black toes that, it was horrifying to see that they had no way to protect their toes, their feet. They were losing their toes to the cold. And so something needed to be done. So we started bringing down shoes. I cleaned out my closet. It's embarrassing when you think about it, how many pairs of shoes each of us own. So we started bringing shoes down there, practical shoes. And then next thing, I turned to my Rotary and said, what can we do more than this?
I love that. Okay, we're going to show some pictures off of a nice article from the Park Cities People newspapers. And so this event would have been in November? Is that?
It was, this year it was in September. The year prior was in November.
Okay. And so talk a little bit about the experience of washing feet. What is it like?
Yeah, so, obviously the humility of helping those in need, those in the greatest need, right? Getting down on your hands and knees and washing their feet just as our Lord and Savior did. Even if you're not a Christian, the humility and the specialness of caring for someone at that level is just very inspirational for us, as well as hopefully giving them some hope that somebody cares.
Sure. And you said in at least a couple cases that you're aware of, lives were saved.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it is their main mode of transportation. And if their feet aren't well, how can they get around? How can they get to a shelter to get food when they need it? How can they even survive? So, looking at their feet and realizing what can we do more than just provide them a new pair of shoes, and certainly having some medical attention, having their feet looked at, and then getting down on, like I said, and giving that foot spa to them is really, really helpful.
And you said in one case they rushed a guy to the hospital?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So the first time we did it, we brought in some nurses that actually provided some diabetes checks, because obviously people can lose their feet if they have untreated diabetes. And sure enough, we found one gentleman who needed to be rushed to the emergency room. His diabetic levels were so low, and we found out later that he probably wouldn't have made it the day if that hadn't been discovered. So we felt so inspired, obviously, that we literally saved a life that day.
And I asked you before the show, come up with your favorite story of a life you touched. Yeah. And you were telling me a wonderful story. Will you share that with the audience?
Yes. Yeah. So the last time we did it here at the Austin Street Shelter, amazing shelter here in Dallas, we were almost done. We had served about 130 homeless people with foot baths, foot care kits, new socks, and new shoes, and the line was gone. And I saw one gentleman hovering in the background and with his head down, but he glanced over at me. I finally went over and I said, "Hey, do you want to come have a foot bath and a foot exam and get some new socks and shoes?" And he said, "No, no, no." He was very insistent. He didn't want to come in. But I didn't take no for an answer, and I took him in there. He didn't want to have his feet looked at or touched. So I took his hand and took him over, got him a pair of shoes, and just as if it was meant to be, size 12 work shoes were sitting there, and his eyes just lit up. It was what he needed, he felt more than anything, was a pair of work shoes. And he said, "This is what's been holding me back from jobs." And I was like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, the last time I went and interviewed, they said I needed to get work shoes and I can't afford work shoes." And I said, "Well, here they are. This is an answer from God." Wow. So we sat down and we put his shoes on him and we prayed together. And it was probably one of the most moving moments I've had in this project.
Holly, your eyes light up when you talk about this, so I can see why you're so passionate. I also found a piece that was done in Omaha before you got to Dallas. Let's go ahead and roll that.
The Metro, socks, shoes, and screenings. There was a free foot clinic today aiming to help the less fortunate at the Open Door Mission.
Feel good?
What's happening in this room all started because a woman saw something while she was serving food to the less fortunate.
I noticed the poor footwear and the flip-flops in freezing cold weather.
That didn't sit right, so she did something about it. Holly is a member of Suburban Rotary of Omaha and put together this sort of one-stop shop.
We've got a new pair of socks.
Not only are 150 people getting new socks, they're also getting new shoes.
So you need to get that refill.
And Nebraska Methodist College is doing health screenings, looking for signs of diabetes, which can cause issues for feet.
We see that the population that Open Door Mission serves tends to be walking constantly on their feet. It's their mode of transportation. So any sort of small injury to the foot can lead to major problems.
The event hoping to prevent those future problems. And along with new socks and shoes, Holly hopes it provides something else.
Provide hope for the hopeless in our community is what's most important here.
Wow, what an amazing story out of Omaha. You were wanting to add something to that.
Yeah, so the way I look at this is that, every time they tie their shoelaces, we're hoping they remember that someone cared enough, someone bathed their feet, touched them, cared, possibly prayed with them, and gave them new socks and shoes. And that memory, that hopefully spurs some hope, hopefully possibilities, and then those possibilities maybe call to action for themselves to move forward, taking that hope, and not just hope in God, but hope that there's something out there for them. And we're just hoping every time they tie their shoelaces, they remember that little moment of care.
Sure. And I know there are some 60 Rotary Clubs in our district and another 40 or something like that in the Fort Worth side. You really see this maybe rolling out globally?
Yes. So we did it at one shelter this year in Dallas. We would like to get all 62 clubs doing a project like this at a shelter near them, possibly across the whole Rotary zone. And we're looking to get an article in the International Rotary magazine so that other clubs across the country and the world could maybe do this project as well. It's just one little moment, one day of giving, and maybe those little sparks of hope can make a difference.
Sure. So if somebody wants to get involved, they have shoes they want to donate, socks they want to donate, maybe a podiatrist who wants to donate his or her time.
We would love a podiatrist. We've struggled to get one, but yes, the call of action is anyone who wants to help at all. Please reach out to me at Park Cities Rotary Club. Go to our website, reach out to us. We would love to have you volunteer, come to a meeting at our club, learn more about what Rotary does. There's an amazing group of community volunteers, and we can do so much with more people getting involved. And every new pair of shoes and socks are donated, make their way into the hands of someone homeless who's on the street corner, needing just one moment of care.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart with my viewers. We're going to end with the website, which again is parkcitiesrotary.org. Holly Hollenbeck, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.